everybody. It's Marae Yaksha here, and I have the wonderful privilege of getting to serve at Calvary Chapel University in the Alumni Ministry. And one of the things I get to do is once a month, I get to interview an alum of the month. And so today, I am joined by Bill Buffington, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Inglewood, and he is our alum of the month for March. You didn't know that, did you? Congratulations, Bill.
I thank
You're the
you.
lucky
Thank
winner.
you. Yeah. Hey, look, I won something. I'll take it. Praise God.
Well, it's one of the blessings at CCU is just getting to be within a family of so many brothers and sisters who are serving the Lord literally around the world.
Mm.
And we just want to be able to share that story, share what God is doing in and through you, how God used CCU in your life. So I've got my questions. And before we get to that, though, you have been the pastor at Calvary Chapel Inglewood since May of 2010, right?
Yes.
That's a long time. And then before that, you served as the high school pastor at Calvary Chapel Downey.
Yep. For about 10 years.
About 10 years. Wow, that's amazing. And you've been married to your wonderful wife, Mika, whom I've had the pleasure of meeting for how many years?
This May will be 27 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's great. And she was telling me that you just have such a heart for marriage ministry and for the men's ministry. That's so needed.
Yeah, that was even when we planted the church, when I look at a community, it's made up of families.
Absolutely.
And so dealing with the marriages, dealing with the men is, to me, that's the foundation of the family. So, which is where the community is built out of. So I definitely have a heart for all those and many more ministries,
That's awesome. So you were just telling me about continuing on with your education, which you had started earlier. At what point did you hear about CCU? How did that start?
So I heard about CCU when I have a daughter who went through and got her bachelor's with you guys. My daughter
and I were in a
Harmony.
class together.
So when we were praying about where she was going to go, and she wanted to stay home so that she could continue to do ministry, but go to school at the same time. And so we found you guys, and it was a perfect fit. It allowed her to continue with her education, but it didn't pull her away from what she was already, doing. And so she was my introduction to Calvary Chapel University.
Oh, that's so fun. And it's just a sweet little memory that that she and I were in a class together years ago, which was kind of fun. How did you like the format of CCU being online? I mean, of course, it worked well for your daughter. What about for you?
I really enjoyed it. It was for me because that was probably the reason it took me so long to even consider going back. I've been in full-time ministry since 2000, 2001. So the thought of doing full-time ministry, having marriage, having 4 kids, and figuring out how you could do school just was daunting. And so this really worked for me. It was I was able to pick my pace, do it at my own pace, and so it allowed me to do something it was in my heart to do. But now I had the opportunity to work it around my schedule and ministry and family, and so I was excited for that opportunity.
Those are a lot of hats that you have to wear.
Yeah.
Pastor, husband, dad, student, brother, just in the Lord, discipling people. And I think that's one of the things that that is so appealing about CCU is the online platform. And you can take one class at a time, and every class is 8 weeks. I kind of just think of it as like jumping into an 8-week Bible study. And especially for women's ministry, women, we're used to doing an 8-week Bible study. So there's a lot of homework, but it's so good.
Yeah, I like the 8 weeks. It seemed like I could, even there were times where I was doing 3 classes at once, but it's like, for these 8 weeks, I know it's going to be hectic, but it's 8 weeks. At the end of 8 weeks, you kind of, and then regroup and then do it again with 2 classes or whatever,
It's kind of like climbing Everest, those first 4 weeks. And then you get to week 4 and you're like, oh, I'm already halfway there. And then I'm just like, I'm, coming down the other side of the mountain. And, Now, did you have a favorite class?
I had a few. There were classes I liked for different reasons, you know. So there was I really like Bob Hoekstra's Counseling God's Way. And it was because I was in the midst of a lot of conversation about therapy and counseling and all that sort of thing. So I really enjoyed that one. I enjoyed the missions class. I enjoyed so different ones. It seemed like they each scratched a different itch.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed a lot of the classes. Yeah.
And didn't you find, I know for myself, because I also, so you graduated with your bachelor's in biblical studies with Christian leadership emphasis,
Hmm.
that those classes were very practical and
Yeah.
so, and applicable, to ministry.
They were immediately applicable. There's so many of the classes like this is what we're doing right now, and so immediate application. And yeah, that was probably my favorite part. That I never really loved school,
Mhm.
but I always enjoyed Bible college because I'm like, all right, this is true and applicable now and forever, and so I can give myself to the study of this.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah,
when you're passionate about Jesus and you just love him, I mean, he's the best subject of all to study. I
yeah.
mean, um, so now you had mentioned you took 3 classes at a time. That's pretty daunting.
Hmm.
Uh, would you recommend people doing that, or was it, much more doable to do one at a time?
I think it depends on who it is. For me, it was difficult, but I had a goal in mind. I didn't
Mhm.
want to do this forever.
Sure.
So I'm like, I'd rather press through a rough 8 week through with
Hmm.
3 classes. Then I knew I'd be finished at this point, as opposed to
Hmm.
stretching out forever. So I think everybody has to decide what works for them. You can do one class at a time and
Hmm.
probably pretty easily. I think for most people, you can do that. So it was difficult, but it was a measured difficulty, so it
Hmm.
worked. Hmm.
Somebody kind of coined CCU as being structured and yet flexible because
Yeah,
you're gonna just like you said, it's like okay, the pedal's pressing, for 8 weeks. But as far as like your assignments, when things are due, but then you have the freedom of like, are you a morning person or a night person?
both.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm early morning and then I'm a late night. So I kind of
okay.
do both. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of it. You can get your reading in whenever you need to, type of paper, kind of whenever
yeah.
you need to.
There are times when I'm gonna be getting away with my wife for 4 days, or we getting away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm doing this week and next week's work because I
Mhm.
already know what it is. I,
Right.
I'm gonna do double time this week, so I have no school next week, and we can just go hang out.
I
So
love
I did
that.
that multiple times.
I I think and that was one of the things I appreciated too. It's like you have your syllabus, you know what your assignments are, everything is clearly laid out for you. Um,
Mhm.
and I think as a student later on in life, I don't know, just speaking personally, I think I was a much better student later on in life. Kind of keeping track of things. I mean, when I first started school, there were no computers in class.
Mhm.
Way back when I went to college. So it is really nice having the online platform. And like you had mentioned, it would be really daunting to be in full-time ministry and then have to go someplace first.
Yeah, that
So
would probably have been not. I would not have been able to do it if I had to go to a location for so many hours of day to sit in class and then have homework, and I wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
yeah, me neither. I have a daughter with special needs,
Oh,
and
we have a son with special needs, so I know.
yes, and that was one of the things I could never leave her, and
Hmm.
I needed to be able to be at home with her, and so
Yeah.
CCU made that possible and made it flexible and doable. Would you recommend CCU to somebody who's kind of in that place of like, gosh, I started school way back then, I didn't finish, or
Mm.
somebody who's maybe a young 20-year-old that's never taken a college class? What would you say to them?
I would say, yeah. I mean, it's funny. My son, Benjamin, who serves with me in the ministry, we're taking classes at the same time.
That's so fun.
He's finishing up right now, so he's a young guy, 19,
Okay.
out of high school. Finished up junior college. Once this is serving, he's teaching the youth. He's doing worship. And so
Oh,
for him, it was like, if I go away to Bible college, I got to leave. I'm already in ministry. I have to
yeah.
leave the ministry to go. So CCU allowed him to, I get to do all the things I'm doing
Mhm.
in ministry, and then I can also get my education. So it worked out really well for him, but also for me, older and,
Oh,
an adult.
hmm,
But I wanted to go back and finish, my schooling. So while I'm doing full-time ministry, it also worked for me as well. So
that's awesome.
yeah, there'll be three CCU alumni coming out of my house.
Oh, wow, congratulations. We're going to need to do a special interview with all three of you together. When will Benjamin be done?
He's taking his last class right now.
Woo!
So he's
Boy,
in
that
the,
finish line's in
yeah,
sight.
yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Mhm.
when he is done, I will put him on my I'll put him on my radar. And then that would be super fun to have the three of you. It might be the first family with three people to graduate from CCU.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to just add about your CCU experience so people can know if they're just kind of thinking about it, contemplating it, praying
You know,
about it?
something else I really thought was cool, because we're online and we're interacting with our classmates, and like you said,
Mhm,
there's people from around the world. So I'm in Inglewood, but I interacted with people that were, missionaries on the mission field, people that were in, other countries that were doing works for the Lord, and also other people that were local. There were people that I knew that were in classes with me. I've gone and taught at a church and had someone come up and say, "Hey, I'm in one of your classes,"
that's so fun.
um, But that was also a blessing that we interact with our classmates, and through the different discussions and so
Mhm,
forth. It was really a blessing, even in that, to get to touch base with other believers that are doing God's work in different places. That was a blessing. So it wasn't like I'm online and I'm not interacting with people.
mhm,
I'm still getting the interaction, which I thought was really important and a blessing. And so, yeah, I would encourage anybody that's desiring to, further their education, or maybe that you just want to grow, you want to take some classes to encourage you in your faith. This is a great place and a great way to do that. And the online format allows you to do it, really at your own pace. And you can fit it around what God has you doing. If you're already busy in ministry, you don't have to leave it behind in order to pursue your education. So, yeah, I would recommend it to anybody who's praying about it, considering it, that they would check it out. The classes are sound, they're
mhm,
biblical, they're solid,
mhm.
and yeah, it's applicable right now. So
Oh, I love that. So many good points there. Now, it must be kind of fun being in a class with your son, like on discussion boards. Do you guys get to comment back and forth to each other?
right. Once in a while, I would go comment on his stuff. I try not
That's
to
fun.
always do it, but yeah.
Right. But that's really fun. And it
Mhm.
is really neat just being able to be in, you're in a class with family. It's
Yeah.
like family of believers within the Calvary family. I was in a class with a woman in Uganda, and she started CCU from the very beginning, working on her bachelor's. She took one class at a time. It took her 9 years to finish, and she
Mm.
plowed through. I mean, talk about like consistent and faithful and disciplined and devoted. Um,
Wow.
she's my hero.
Mm.
And so it is really kind of fun just to be able to be in class and to, to meet other people in other states. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
So, well, Bill, thank you. It's such a joy to get to talk with you. It's fun. I've gotten to see you at conferences and talk with your wife, and it's just a blessing to be able to have CCU in common. Most of all, we have Jesus in common,
Amen.
and it's just great to be able to keep growing in our relationship with the Lord and keep serving Him, because that's what it's all about, right?
Amen. And then providing ways for other people to continue to grow. So I appreciate you guys and what the Lord is giving you to do. It's an important ministry. So it's you're equipping the saints for the work
Mhm.
all over the world. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things I think that is unique about CCU is we do have various degree programs, so as a pastor, obviously, Christian leadership, biblical studies, there's biblical counseling.
Mhm.
I did the biblical studies, but women's ministry emphasis. And we all have various callings. I mean, as a full-time wife and mom and just, woman in the church, serving, ordering donuts for church. You know what I mean? It's like we've all got different callings. You definitely need coffee and donuts at church. That's essential. But, CCU is here to equip, whatever it is that God has a call in your life. So with that, I want to just thank you so much for joining me today. And for all of you who are watching, if you have any questions about CCU, you can check out our website, calvarychapeluniversity.edu. You can look up the various degrees that we offer, bachelor's degrees, master's and MDiv, doctorate. Their certificate programs. And we're here to serve you. We're here to be a helper of your joy. Really the vision of CCU is just simply Jesus, superior academics, and servant leadership. And so until next time, God bless you and look forward to seeing you then. Bye-bye.